Hello, good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to our open event this evening. My name is Ben Fryer. This presentation is being recorded and will go live on our website tomorrow, so you can review any bits you've missed or send the link to anyone who missed it. You can see by the title page there, this session is on the Aspire programme. It's not exactly how we wanted to run this event, as I'm sure you can imagine. We would usually be in our lovely Hub Theatre, welcoming you all properly, and we're looking forward to showing you the college and all it has to offer at the very soonest opportunity. For some though, I hope it might work well on a very cold January evening. The purpose of this next session and the next half an hour or so is really to let you know a little bit more about how we support students at Haywards Heath College to help them with their university ambitions. So whether that's studying medicine at King's or sport and exercise science at Bath, history at Oxford, this is a programme where we support all students. We call this our Aspire programme, and it runs alongside and intertwined with our Progression Plus support, which you might have heard me talk about earlier in the principal's presentation. If you haven't, you can access that on our website and hear a little bit more about that. It runs to make sure there are absolutely no barriers for any student, and that they can go as far as their commitment, their skill and their drive can take them, and whatever that looks like. So next slide, please. This evening, I'll give you a bit of a brief idea of what you have in store. I'll give you a quick overview of the Aspire programme, and then I'm going to pass over to Andy Carr, who's our Aspire coordinator, and he'll just take you through, myself and him will take you through some of the key elements of it, the 5 key elements. Thankfully, you won't just have to listen to us, and we'll be punctuating our information with some interviews from our current students, who I know will be able to give you a far better flavour of all that the Aspire and indeed Haywards Heath College has to offer than we will. We'll then finish off by answering any of your questions, and with that in mind, can I just draw your attention to the Q&A tab at the bottom. Please do write in any questions as we go, things that come up or things that you're interested in knowing a bit more about, and we'll try to answer as many as possible at the end of the presentation. If you have any technical difficulties or sounds not working for any reason, you can put those information in the chat, and one of our team who are monitoring it behind the scenes will be able to respond to you. Next slide, please. So there we go. There you can see the 5 elements of the Aspire programme, condensed in that way to give the support. So we have the CUP, or the competitive university placement programme. We have the EPQ, or the external project qualification. We have Aspire lectures, which we'll tell you a little bit more about. And then we have the university preparation, and then the university application element itself. Sorry, EPQ had a moment of madness, extended project qualification. Always comes out wrong when you're presenting. Before Andy and I go into all these elements things, I just want to touch on a few basics, if you like. And I wanted to sort of make sure that you knew that this is for all our students. This Aspire programme is for every single one of our students. That we do get a lot of students who come to it or are drawn to it with very high GCSE average. Those people, who are looking Oxbridge applications or competitive Russell Group universities. This is something that is available absolutely for all. We firmly recognise there are those who have a trajectory and motivation shift hugely when they come to college from school. So it's very much inclusive, and it's a wide-reaching programme. And it's one that has an elements, or the elements they'll be able to pick something that will be able to support them and something they can access. Before we go on to those elements, I'm going to just introduce our first student, Jenny Tame. If we could just move on to the next slide, please. Jenny, are you there?
Hello.
Jenny, hello. Thanks for joining us this evening. I'm just going to tell you a little bit, ask you a few questions, that's all right. Could you just start off by telling us a bit about the courses you're currently studying and why you chose them?
Sure. So I'm taking politics, business and psychology. I definitely debated with a lot of them. I changed up all 3 of them throughout the whole of the summer before I actually started. But I ended up on those 3 because they were what interested me most, obviously. I took politics because I found it very topical. I thought it was a really good, it just seemed like it was a very interesting sort of something that just sounded like, you know, it would be something that would be useful. It was something that I could apply to the whole of life. And I took business because I took it at GCSE and it was something I was good at, something I knew I could use and was interested in studying in university. And I took psychology because I'd heard lots of good things about it. So it was a new thing that I was interested in.
Thanks, Jenny. And there'll be a number of students who are thinking about psychology as an exciting course they don't know an awful lot about. How should they go about exploring some of those other courses, economics or psychology or sociology? You know, what advice would you give them?
I think I would definitely say, you know, don't rule anything out too soon. You know, I think I would definitely say go out of your way to look actually at what the content is. You know, don't look at it at just face value. Don't look at what everyone says it is, you know, because you think it's very easy to make assumptions about what the course is just from what you've heard. But actually, you know, it's quite good to, if you just, if you manage to, you know, watch a video on it, you know, if you go onto YouTube, there are lots and lots of overview videos on topics in there, which I thought were really, really interesting. I did that with psychology. I watched a video on attachment, which I thought was really, really cool. And that's the topic we're doing now. So I think if you do that, if you're uncertain on a particular topic, if you go out of your way to look at what, you know, you might be studying actually in it, that can be really useful.
Thank you. I think that's really really good advice, Jenny. Did you always know what you were going to study? There'll be a number of students out there who go, well, I don't know yet. I don't know what course I want to do. Was that the case for you, or did you have a set idea of what you wanted to do?
No, definitely not. Like I said, I changed it so much because obviously we had that huge gap because we broke up in March because of lockdown. So throughout lockdown, I think I got to know the poor people at Chichester College so well because I emailed them so many times. It's like, oh, I want to change up this course now, because I just honestly changed my courses so many times. And I think that was really good because actually, like, it really got me thinking about what I wanted to do. And I think, like, I really debated about, you know, I thought, oh, is this going to help me in the future? Should I do it because I like it? Should I do it because I know I'm good at it? And actually, it all came down to, you know, whether I was actually going to enjoy it. And I think that's the most important thing. Like, you know, the last thing you want to do is get stuck with something that, you know, you're good at, but doesn't excite you at all, you know?
No, absolutely. Did you, what are you hoping to do in the future? What's your future plans? Do you know yet?
I've got some sort of idea. I think I'd like to work in politics. I think that'd be really, really cool. No, I wouldn't like to be a politician. They always get shouted at by the media. But I think, like, working in that sort of area, like international relations and that sort of thing, just sounds really, really cool and interesting. But obviously, that's all still a stool that's still a bit up in the air, to be honest. So we'll have to see.
Absolutely, and we need people like you, Jenny, in those positions in the future, 100%. What is your favourite subject at the moment, Jenny? And I promise I won't tell your teachers this, and why. I
think probably politics, just because it's so topical and interesting. You know, there's always something to discuss. There's always something, you know, there's always someone who disagrees with you, but there's always somebody who agrees with you. So it's so interesting to hear about everyone's range of different views, and, you know, there's always a new thing happening. You know, it's quite good because with a lot of the other subjects, it's a set chunk of work. You know, I quite like politics in the sense that it's always changing and you can write about things as they happen in your essays, which is really, really cool, and I really like that. So
good. And was it as you expected, politics? Was it kind
of, yeah. I think some of it obviously was different. I think, like, I didn't expect there to be so much terminology. Like, I think, like, I stepped in and he was like, can anyone tell me what a codified constitution was? And I was like, no. But no, I think, like, now, yeah, so that definitely took me by surprise. But actually, it was, yeah, it's been really good. It's been really good, definitely.
Good. Jenny, my last question to you. What attracted you to Haywards Heath College in the first instance, and what have you been impressed with so far since you've been here?
I think, well, it first attracted me is how close it was. I live 10 minutes down the road, so obviously that's going to be really, really useful for me. And then also it just, my mum used to work here when it was originally open. So I also had that connection and, so coming here was really, really cool. And so, since it's been opened, it's just been amazing in the sense that actually it's been so good, especially with how a lot of the other colleges have had to have 1 week on, 1 week off, but we've been able to go in full time. It's been so good in the sense that we've had just a blank slate that we've been able to just completely work on. It's been just entirely for us, and it's just been a really cool experience. It's been a really good experience all in all, because it's just, entirely unique. And I don't think I would have got that anywhere else, to be honest.
Jenny, thank you. I'm really pleased to hear that. And we feel very lucky to have you here as well. Thank you for joining us this evening. Hopefully you'll join us at the end for some Q&A in case anyone's got any specific questions for your courses.
Of course, thank you very much.
Great, thanks, Jenny. Okay, can we just go on to the next slide, please? So the first element I'm just going to talk to you about is our monthly Aspire lectures. We've been running these since September, every other week for our students. In these, we ask guest speakers, past CCG students, universities to come in and present on a topic of interest and answer any questions that students might have for them. As you can see from the slide, there are a variety of themes on there. We started the year with a particular focus. We were looking particularly about university applications and drawing down on that university experience. So we asked James Lowe, who's a former CCG student, graduated with the first from LSE last year. He came in and spoke about his application journey, quite an interesting one because he applied for Cambridge for the first time, was rejected, and then secured a post at LSE. And so he was really candid with that application journey and what he learned about that. And so our students learned from that experience and from his journey, if you like. He also then talked about his time at university and what things he wished he had known going in for it, and the elements that were new to him. So that was really interesting. We then heard from Dr. Rayner from Oxford University, and he just sort of took students through the do's and the don'ts of the application process. Really, really useful interview with him, and he answered lots of our students' questions as well. And as I say, we record those so we can go back and review them as we need to. More recently, you can see down there, we've moved to sort of more broad topics, I suppose. So the recent one was Dr. Nash presenting on social attitudes towards body modification practices in the West. Really interesting, thought-provoking presentation, and it created loads of really good discussion, which is exactly what we want the Aspire lectures to do. And hot off the press, I can reveal, because I've just had some confirmed speakers from Amex today presenting on smart speakers, so biased towards certain accents, and someone from Google who's going to tell us about innovative practice that goes on there behind the scenes. So lots of things to look forward to, and I know there's plans for some from Amazon to come and talk to us, some Rolls-Royce, some BAE Systems, so lots of things on the horizon. And so a really broad and enriching lecture program, there to give support, but also to challenge and to raise curiosity in our students. That's what it's there for. I should say, when I say they come in to present, we've run these lectures remotely since September, which has actually been really good. It's lovely to have them in, and we're going to go back to that program, but it's actually meant we can access even more speakers and record the presentations ready for next year's students. But we can also access those other presentations that are going on around either at Chichester or at Worthing, which has been fantastic for us, and it basically triples the amount of guest speakers we can have. I'm now going to pass over to Andy Carr, who I said earlier is our Aspire coordinator, who is just going to take you through the CUP and the EPQ sessions. Andy.
Thank you, Ben. Good evening, everyone. Nice to be here with all of you. So the Competitive University Preparation Programme, or CUP, more conveniently titled, is a mentoring programme that the Chichester College Group is a part of to really try and help those particularly academically strong students to get to some of those higher places. So normally we'd run these sessions around midday on a Friday in our Hub Theatre, which I've put as my backdrop today to try and set a bit more of the mood. What we're trying to do is those students who are particularly interested in, say, Oxbridge or the Russell Group universities, or anyone who's thinking about one of the more sort of early application university courses, so medicine, veterinary science, there's more, of course. Anyone who's interested in that, we recognize that those application processes actually require a little bit more focus, perhaps. There's a university standard system through UCAS, as I'm sure some of you are aware of, but sometimes if you're trying to get into those particular places, just having some dedicated time where we can focus on the particular skills, the particular mindset, the particular avenues that need to be considered is really beneficial. And I'll go through some examples of what that looks like in just a second. But speaking of some of those key skills, I've got some of them listed on the screen for you there. So things like being able to have a good discussion, critically think your way through a problem, good literacy skills, building up confidence. You know, these places that the students are wanting to apply to, they're expecting the academic skills and the grades to be excellent as is, but that's almost a given. So, you know, very, very strong grades, but we recognize that actually there's those other tangible skills that are required. So at the Oxbridge interviews, for example, they tend to be more based on personality because they're just, well, you know, we expect the grades are going to be excellent as it is. So a lot of the sessions are built around that kind of an idea. The other point I've got at the bottom there, as you can see, is the extended project qualification, so the EPQ, which Ben mentioned at the beginning. Essentially, in a nutshell, what this is, it's equivalent to half of an A-level, and it's a piece of independent research. So the students who take part in the CUP, and we open it up to other students as well to do the EPQ. It's, as I say, a piece of independent research on an ethical, sort of moral, dilemma-y kind of question. And that's up to the students to decide what that is. And usually it's related to a subject area that they're interested in. So we're currently starting to work our way through this in the CUP sessions at the moment. And I'm encouraging the students to think about it as, if you could think of another area that perhaps isn't covered within your A-level subjects just yet, but you really want to be able to talk about that at a university interview, for example, or even if you don't get an interview at university because that's just simply not part of the entry requirements, what would you like to be more of an expert in? And fundamentally, it is a research project first. So it encourages students to think very carefully about the primary research they find, the secondary research that they find, and being able to critically evaluate for themselves. Could I have the next slide, please? So what we've got on here is some of the information that I've shared with students as part of the CUP program. What you've got in the top left-hand part of the screen, the overall numbers, you can see that actually this is talking about the number of applications that Oxford was tracking over a 5-year period. And what you can actually see is that the number of applications continues to go up year on year, but the number of offers, relatively speaking, stays about the same. So this particularly highlights the need why it's really important to give students the chance to focus on some of these skills that, say, Oxford, Cambridge, other Russell Group universities, like I say, just to give them that safe space to explore that. Also, I thought you might find of interest, particularly on the same topic, some of the subjects that are the most oversubscribed, or at least the number of students who are applying to these positions. So that's the number of applicants per place at the bottom there. So economics and management being the number one, 16.8 applicants per available place at Oxford. So just reiterating the point really. The picture at the bottom left there with the laptop, that's an example of something we did in one of the CUP sessions recently. We were talking about what's the lifestyle like of a student at one of these universities. So what's the daily hours like? How do they spend their time? How do they manage their study work, as well as maybe some downtime? What does that actually look like? Because we can have an idea of what it might be to go to university, but sometimes seeing it for yourselves is something very, very useful to have in mind. At the bottom there, that graph at the bottom there, this is to do with spaced practice. So we've been very much focusing on revision techniques and what generally seems to work, as opposed to just expecting the students to know how to revise properly. So I think that's obviously something important to talk about. The gender pay gap in the top right hand corner there. In the first session, when we were in the theatre, I split the room into two, and I gave one side of this debate around the gender pay gap to one side of the room, and then the other side of the debate to the other. And it was really interesting to see how the students reacted to that. Some of them, opened up to that very nicely. They accepted, right, okay, I've been given a perspective here. I've got to, work in a team to get it done. Some people found that quite tricky. But the ultimate takeaway from that session was, but as I say, there are other skills that we need to be confident with. And as I said, part of the interview process for Oxford, Cambridge is around perhaps doing things a little bit outside of your comfort zone. And lastly, in the bottom right-hand corner there, the personal action plan that you can see. So all the students who are taking part in the CUP will have a tailored version of this. They've been keeping a log of the actions that they are working on to try and get them to where they want to be. And every few weeks, we bring that back into the conversation just to see how the students are progressing. So it's very much a tailored response around what they want and trying to help them to get to, these tough places to get into. Next slide, please. Right, so I'm going to speak to a couple of students now. So Sam, we'll talk to Sam Loft first of all.
Yep.
Hi, Sam. Hi, nice to see you. Thank you for coming on. So Sam, could you just tell us please about the subjects that you've chosen to study and why, please?
So I'm currently studying maths, physics and biology. I chose these because I've always had a fascination in understanding how the world works. And these, especially physics and biology, really give me, I've learned so much that I kind of think, oh yeah, obviously that's how that happened. But before I never would have thought that. And it's just really interesting to understand things. And also I'm looking to go into a career in either engineering or medicine. And I think they'll set me up really well for that.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me, Sam. They're very good. So you're obviously taking part in the CUP stuff, which is part of the reason why we're chatting to you at this point. So how have you found that the CUP sort of program has stretched you, perhaps with regards to your own development?
I think it's really caused me to kind of take an in-depth look into what I want to do in the future, because before now I've just thought, oh, I'll think about it when it gets to it. But I think it's really caused me to realize that that's not a good idea and I really need to think about it now. And it just kind of, it helps me think about my career options, as well as also giving me skills to fully excel and reach my potential as to what I could then do in the future.
Oh, that's awesome, Sam. I'm glad to hear you say that. So on that point then, so what would you say has been the most useful CUP session so far?
I would say probably the session we did on exam guidance and sort of how to study, because I think that's something that you're taught at secondary school, but it's more taught about how to do it, like make revision cards or something. It's not so much, it's more about what you're actually doing as opposed to how you use that time effectively to make sure that you're not spending hours sort of slogging through a book that isn't really helping you. And I think that's really useful to maximize your technique in study to then perform better in exams.
Yeah, totally. And do you feel that would be something useful to take on to university as well?
I think so, yeah. I think it really teaches how to study something on your own, whereas at secondary you're taught a lot about generally you do most of your learning in school. I'd say at college you do most of your learning at home on your own, doing sort of independent study, and it's really important that you do it right.
Totally. Well, I agree with you, Sam, because I ran the session for you. Great. But lovely to hear you say that. Thank you. Lastly then, Sam, what have you been most impressed with at Haywards Heath so far?
I think it's I've touched on it a bit there, but the freedom of study and your structure of learning, it's not heavily timetabled. So so when we are in college, you don't have to be in the college learning. If you've not got a lesson, you can do your learning at home in the way that you feel helps you best. And I think on top of that, the staff are really, really good. They're really approachable. and you can really feel like you don't feel nervous asking them a question if you don't know something, because it's really important that you do ask, because that's the whole point of college, to learn.
Couldn't agree with you more, Sam. Great. Thank you very much, Sam. I really appreciate you contributing. Thank you. Are you happy to stay on as well? Just on mute, just for Q&A at the end?
Yep.
Great. Thank you, Sam. Really appreciate it. Thank you. And I'll just speak to my second student now as well, Rosa. Rosa Godkin, are you there?
Hello.
Hi, Rosa. Hiya. So a few questions for you then, Rosa. So can you tell us again the subjects that you've chosen and why you've chosen them, please?
So I study geography, English literature and language and media. I wanted to pick subjects that sort of keep my options really broad, but also have good links within them. So I've always been really interested in English, and I find that literature and language enable you to be a lot more creative within the traditional English subject. And media, I think, really links with English. I see a lot of links between them, and it's such a topical subject. And with geography, I really enjoyed it at GCSE, and I'm quite interested in conservation as well, which is such a topical thing at the moment with climate change and the state of our world.
Great. As you say, you're keeping your options open. I think you're certainly doing that with those subjects, aren't you? So, I mean, we've obviously had a very strange time recently in education, kind of topsy-turvy for everyone involved. So what are some of the things that you take away from your time at Haywards Heath so far that you've enjoyed?
Well, I think they've done such a good job at keeping us even now really engaged, subject wise with learning, but also from a well-being point of view, just checking in with students and making sure that everyone's okay. And I think that was quite in the college there is such an atmosphere of that, which is so friendly and team orientated, which I really like.
Great, thank you. And so lastly, I think you sort of hinted at it earlier, but what are you hoping to do after college, and how have you perhaps been supported so far at the college to do that?
I think I have kind of two routes. I'm really interested in English and sort of language and geography. And I think the college has a really good broad range of advice that you can get from people I've spoken to, like Grace, Progression Plus, who are so useful in saying what universities are good for your subjects and just guiding you through it, so you don't feel so alone on that, because it can be confusing.
Absolutely. So just quickly, and so with Grace on Progression Plus, so did you seek the appointment out, or did she contact you, or how did that work, and what was that like?
Well, my tutor said you should talk to her if you're interested in, you're not sure what you want to do, or you should listen to her advice. And she was really friendly and just sort of guided me through, especially with English, what universities are good for English, like Edinburgh and Nottingham, and what they can offer you.
Yeah, great. That's lovely. Thank you very much for your time, Rosa. And if you wouldn't mind staying on as well for the end, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you. Right, I'll pass back over to Ben now to talk about university preparation.
Thanks, Andy, and thanks, Sam and Rosa there. Andy, I think we've missed a trick here. We should have asked these four students to run the whole presentation for us. They've done a fantastic job.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I couldn't have put it better myself, Sam, the point of college is to ask questions. Exactly right. So let me just take you on to the next slide. So the last two elements of our Aspire programme is university preparation, university application. They do come hand in hand, obviously, but they are slightly distinctly separate. The university preparation element is something we offer, I think, in a really extensive way, as you can see from the list of some of the activities here. For us, it's really about providing a range of activities to give students experience, to give them support in making the decision on the right university or the right course, and also giving them opportunities to strengthen their application with things to talk about when it comes to that. And I think one of the strengths of being in, as I said earlier, being in a group of colleges, you not only get access to the things that Haywards Heath College are running, that we are running, but you also get access to everything that Worthing College or Chichester College are also doing. So, there's a variety of things you can see there, from summer schools to academies to Olympiads. And actually we had a British Informatics Olympiad last week, which we ran remotely for our computer science students. So there's a host of things that we offer and opportunities we give to students, and nudge them along to taking those, but both through the kind of Progression Plus team, the tutor team, but also the teaching team here. Next slide, please. And obviously, once they are prepared for that university, the next step is the application itself through UCAS. And this is something that a lot of our students will want to do and want to take part in. It is something that runs in tandem with our Progression Plus team. So the Aspire team and the Progression Plus team work together on it. You get one-to-one advice and support from your student tutor. We run workshops on the application form itself, filling that in, making your personal statement really stand out. We start an early applicant support group in the summer term so this is in your year 12 for all those who are applying for dentistry, medicine, veterinarian science, or applying to Oxbridge, that you may know they have early application deadlines in October. So we start that process very early with those people who do, massively competitive courses in universities, giving them the appropriate experience, the appropriate support in practice admission tests, mock interviews, so that when the real thing comes, you are completely ready for it. And I think that was a lot of the guidance we get from our Aspire lecture, students coming back to tell us about that process. That was one of the things that really sort of a theme that ran throughout, that they wish they had more mock interview practice, because actually the ones who didn't get accepted felt that was a real need for them, and actually they drew on the experience the next time round with those successful interviews. As well as we also team you up with mentors, higher education mentors, who have gone through the process and give you their advice and their kind of insight into it. And the last thing you can see at the bottom bullet point there, we start applications with students on the day they open on UCAS. So we utilize every moment support. I'm very aware there's a number of colleges in the locality, independent schools who have a lot of support and guidance. Our aim here and by this program is to deliver exactly the same kind of support and give exactly the same kind of opportunities to our students, to make sure that that there is no barrier to them whatsoever. So those are the 5 elements of the Aspire program. You can find out more about the Aspire program in more detail on our website, as well as all of these webinars, our courses and entry requirements, all those other areas. Before we go to Q&A, and I'm just going to ask you to put any of your questions you're holding on to in that question answer tab, just so we can draw on those in a second. But I'm going to finish with some questions from our last student, Barry, who's been waiting patiently. Before I do that, questions in the Q&A, please, and then we shall go to straight after we've spoken to Barry. Barry, hello, are you there?
Hello, yes.
Fantastic. Good evening, Barry. Barry, again, I've got a few questions for you to finish off, to bring us home, if that's all right. First of all, can you just tell me how you found your first year here so far?
Well, first year's been great for me. I've been able to explore the subjects that I enjoy at much greater depth than I did at GCSE. Also, whilst we were at college, the structure of the college day was actually refreshing and great for me as well. Having free periods provided me the opportunity to do extra work at college, more free time to socialise, and sometimes I even got to go home early. So yeah, overall, first year's been great.
Good. Is it what you expected?
Well, I mean, no, to be honest, for me, it was a lot better, because, I didn't expect such a relaxed structure to the day. I didn't expect to go into those subjects that I enjoy into that much depth. And there was so many aspects of college life that I never anticipated, but, I'm glad that it happened.
You mentioned, obviously, your remote learning at the moment. How have you found that? And just tell us, the students who might be interested, what kind of things you're doing in there.
Well, with remote learning, currently we're using Teams to communicate through our classes. Personally, I do prefer the live lessons, and thankfully had the opportunity to take in the live lessons for the entirety of the first term. But the online lessons, they're actually not as bad as most people think. With all the resources that the college have provided, we've been able to do a lot of work at home and keep up with all the work that the curriculum throws at us. So yeah, overall not bad.
Great, thank you. And I think everyone would agree with you. We much prefer having you here in person when we can, Barry. Barry, what do you think are the main differences between school and college?
Well, I think the first difference that hit me on the first day was that college is a lot more relaxed and a lot more independent than school. In school, you have a very strict timetable. You're in at 8:30 or 9, you're out at 4, oh, at 3, sorry. But with college, you stay for your lessons and you can even stay when you don't have a lesson and work when you want to. And but however, there is also a much higher level of independence at college, which was not something that I anticipated, but it's something I'm keeping up with. You are expected to do some work at home, make sure you're on top of your subjects. But once you go to college, you end up doing subjects that you enjoy, so it's not too much of a problem. So yeah.
And you're a key member of the student exec team here, and I know we've got our student conference next week, so I'm looking forward to seeing you on. Can you just tell us a little bit more about how that operates, how you came to take up that post, and what kind of things you've been involved in?
Sure. So the student exec, for those who don't know, is a group of students who work together to help improve our college by raising the student voice and taking suggestions from both students and staff. At the start of the year, we put some applications in to become student rep, and then once you became a student rep, you'd apply to become a student exec. The main thing that we do as student exec, we have regular meetings in which we discuss issues and ideas, such as in the last few meetings, we've discussed about how we as a college can become more sustainable, how we can raise awareness for mental health and well-being, and also setting up charitable events such as the Christmas Elf Day we had just before the end of term. Yeah, there's a lot more to come this year, and especially next year we'll have a full college, and hopefully we can get a lot done in the next coming years.
Great, thanks, Barry. And I enjoyed the Elf Day and then the money it raised for the Alzheimer's Trust as well. It was good fun. Barry, what do you want to do when you leave college?
When I leave college, I'm looking to go study medicine at university. Currently, I'm looking at Cambridge University and Imperial College London in particular, and therefore I've got a lot of preparation ahead of me to do. The Aspire program has taught me a lot about university, how I should go about choosing a course and a university to study at, and the CUP program in particular has really helped me in improving the effectiveness of my study. That session about revision techniques in particular was very important to me, as I understood that I should, one of the methods I learned was interleaving my topics, not focusing on the same thing over and over, but switching it up so I can keep my brain active. One more thing from the CUP program was the EPQ, which allowed me to delve into my interest in a specific field of medicine. For me, it was neurology. And one last thing, I have been working with Progression Plus, and they have provided me a lot of specific guidance and recommended me a lot of things to do, such as virtual work experience offered by Brighton and Sussex Medical School.
And have you got a title for your EPQ yet, Barry? You're honing it.
One of my rough titles I've got for my EPQ right now is the effect of drugs and medicine on the brain, and whether certain drugs and certain medicines should be legal or illegal.
Interesting, right? Quite broad.
Yeah.
So you're I think you need to work on channeling that down. It's tough, actually. It's
yeah.
One of the most difficult things about an EPQ is writing a really clear and concise title, actually, isn't it? Barry, what would you say to all those at school at the moment? Where did you go to your Warden Park, weren't you?
Warden Park.
Yeah. So what would you say to all those Warden Park and other secondary schools around who are thinking of applying here or still making a decision on where to go? What advice would you give them?
Well, the first piece of advice I'd give is make sure you choose the courses you want to study carefully, because you don't want to end up going to a college that doesn't offer the course that you want to study. So that's probably the first step. And Hayward Heath has a wide variety of subjects on offer, so that shouldn't be a problem here. also, you should definitely weigh up the advantages and disadvantages of each college logically. Like, think about the different aspects of each college and which ones mean more to you. Me personally, I found that the location of Hayward College was great. It's just a 10-minute walk from my house. And it also had all the courses that I was considering at the time, and now I'm studying them. And one thing in particular that meant quite a lot to me, and maybe not so much to other people, was that the college had a smaller cohort of students, and that kind of led to a calmer, more intimate environment than at the other colleges I was considering, which is important to me. And that's why I ended up choosing here. But I'd recommend to anyone, just, think logically about all those aspects that are important to you, not necessarily anyone else, but just that are important to you, and use those to decide where you want to apply and what you want to apply for.
Barry, thank you for that great advice, and thanks for joining us this evening. That does bring us to the end of our event tonight. A reminder that it all has been recorded, and it's available on our website, I think, in 24 hours time, alongside all our other webinars, so you can look back on any of the key slides with information and review any elements as we go. Please do take a look. We're going to move on to see if we've got anything in the Q&A. This is our second slot, so I'm just going to get those up and have a look at those, and Andy perhaps we'll pick a few of those together. Okay, yeah, so we've got some good ones in here. So from Rosie, thanks for all the information so far. Please could you tell me if there are any extracurricular clubs, social events at the college other than sport? Many thanks. Rosie, yeah, thanks for that. And there are, a variety of things that we run in a normal year, but actually we're continuing to run here as well. So there are the, sort of science workshops, to debating clubs, to music ensembles, recreational sporting activities. We have a language support club, actually they call it a cultural club actually, as well as all of the other host of SU activities. And the SU is a student union. So part of Barry was talking about earlier, the SU team, and he might be able to say a little bit more about some of the activities that are on with NU Extra, the SU Extra at Hayward Heath here, and perhaps in a second. But part of that role is to endorse and promote all those clubs and societies, and actually draw on what the students would like here, so we respond to those needs as well. Barry, or any of our four students, do you want to say anything more about some of the things you've been involved in or done as part of Lockdown Extra, perhaps?
So part of the student exec currently are actually running a load of activities for all students across the college. One of which we have these ones called the Extra Break. Like, it's just a half an hour period where 3 times a week where people just join a Teams call, and we just, we talk about anything really. It just provides that medium for people to socialize despite being in lockdown right now. And it's great to, talk to people that you don't necessarily see or talk to that much in college. A few other things that we're currently running. We're running a debate club, which unfortunately I'm unable to attend, but I've heard a lot of people talking about those hot topics that have been coming up, and it sounds like fun. It runs for about an hour, and we also, on a Friday at about 3:30, we run a big Kahoot quiz. I think last week it was on Disney in particular, and lots of people turned up, and it was all great fun.
Thanks, Barry. Disney Kahoot, I don't know how I missed it. Rosa, have you taken part in any things outside your subjects this year that you might want to talk about, or anything that is happening at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, just before lockdown, there was dance, which was really, really fun. And it was nice because I initially swapped from dance to media. So it was nice that I could still keep that as part of college life. And I believe there's drama as well. You can do music with Yvonne, who's really, really lovely. So if you're interested in that kind of area.
Great, thank you. 2 really good recommendations, Rosa. Jenny or Sam, anything to add to that?
I don't really know, but I do know that just to add on, like, the extra things that are being run during lockdown still, I do know that there's also a podcast club which Chelsea is doing, like a book club, but you listen to a podcast. And there's also, yeah, the debate club. I think there's also an LGBT plus club, I think. And I think there's a bunch more being planned. I think a lot of it is still being like set up and being discussed, and we're all still trying to run up ideas and get things in place, because obviously with lockdown it's all a bit trickier, obviously.
Great, thank you. And I'll pass over to you. Do you want to pick up any of those questions?
Yes, so there's a question here about studying and EPQ from Amy. So is it during the first year? I'm assuming, Amy, that's to do with if you don't want to necessarily do the CUP program, but you perhaps just want to do your qualifications and the EPQ as well. Yeah, we do open it EPQ up to everyone. Essentially, how it's worked so far, obviously it's been a brand new college this year. The way that we've done it is that it's been advertised initially as part of the CUP, because we're trying to get those students who are trying to sort of get the early apps in done. Having said that, some students have been very proactive and been in touch with me and have said, can we just come into the CUP sessions where you're deliberately dealing with the EPQ? Yeah, fine. That's the transition that we're just about to make as it happens right now. In terms of everyone else, the plan is then that we're going to open it up to year 13s, so in the second years, and then so everyone will be able to have a chance at doing that, because it's such a useful qualification to have. It's not something that every university acts the same way around, but a substantial number of universities now, and more every year, are opening up to the fact that actually this shows a lot of independent research, a lot of really strong study skills. I mean, I might argue it's up there with a university research project. It is to get an A star in it, and so much so that some universities have been known, and certainly in my past place of employment, I saw this. They would reduce the university offers in some cases. So if a student was needed to get 3 A's, say, without the EPQ, I've seen them go down to 3 B's just based on the EPQ being a really strong result. So we absolutely see the value in being able to open that to everyone. But but we focus on the sort of the CUP students and anyone else who's sort of saying, actually, I really want to be involved in this early on in year 1, and then everyone else in year 2. I hope that answers your question.
Thanks, Andy. And there's just 2 other questions on here, actually. So firstly, are any of the parts of the Aspire program optional? And yes, they are, absolutely. They all are optional, I suppose. So it's something we run. You can take part in. You might decide you're going to come to the Aspire lectures. Absolutely, come along to those. You might decide you want to come to the CUP program, the 2-hour-a-week sessions in terms of that competitive university placement program. Absolutely, you can come to that. We advise everyone who comes to the university preparation and has a look at that, even if they're not necessarily going to apply. And the same with the university application. So yeah, they're all optional, really, and they are there for you, so you can pick those up as much or as little as you want. And I suppose the other question is around, do you flag you want to join Aspire before you join or when you start? So you don't need to put anything on your application enrollment. It's certainly something you can mention it in enrollment or during your course guidance meeting and make that known to them. But we will invite all students to come for a kind of briefing on it, explain it to them as part of their induction here, and then we will let you know when sessions come, so you can pick that up when you're here. So no need to flag it straight away. But I would thoroughly recommend, those people who've been interested about anything we've got to say, come along and have a listen to those sessions when you do start here. And I think that has answered all our questions. I know it's our second session of these, so we're not expecting loads, but do feel free to still write in at info@haywardsheath.ac.uk if you have any further questions. I'd like to thank Andy for his co-presenting tonight and our 4 students. Thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate the rest of you all joining us here this evening. I hope you found it useful. Thank you, and stay safe.